Good morning, everyone. This is the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission weekly hearing on Wednesday, October 13th. And we are going to get started with the roll call. Hearings Officer Larson, can you help us, please?
Of course. Thank you, Commissioner Nanjapa. Commissioner Bogue, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner Hackett, Commissioner McGowan.
Here.
Commissioner Mesner.
Here.
Commissioner Nanjapa.
Here.
Commissioner Robbins. Madam Chair, you have 3 out of 7 commissioners present. Forgive me, 4 out of 7.
Thank you very much. So we have achieved our quorum. So we'll get going, and I believe the first order of business is public comment, and we have one public commenter who is signed up, Miss Shayna Oliver. And so Ms. Larson, if you could promote her. Do we have Miss Oliver?
We are bringing her in. We promoted her to panelist. I'm not seeing her just yet, though, in the panelists.
I see her now. I see you, Miss Oliver. We can hear you. So you may start.
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Shayna Oliver. I'm a Northeast community member of Denver, field organizer for Eco Madres and Moms Clean Air for Colorado, national organization of moms, dads, and caregivers united in fighting for all children's right to breathe and play in clean air. Colorado is the 10th worst state for poor air quality, according to the State of the Air report by the American Lung Association, and over 37,000 Colorado members are looking up to leadership to mitigate better practices of oil and gas and reducing pollution. Most importantly, I'm an Indigenous mother of 4. We are the descendants of the genocide known as the Indian Removal Act, known to the Diné as the Long Walk of the Navajo. These types of policy violations have run a historic impact on Indigenous people, community, health, wealth, and environmental well-being. Scientists have known for decades that air pollution is harmful to health, and this is especially true for vulnerable populations such as older adults, people with underlying health conditions, communities of color, low-income communities, pregnant women, and children. So the COGCC must ensure that the community's right to environmental justice, as amended by House Bill 1266, Colorado law protecting communities disproportionately impacted by environmentally harmful operations, projects, and proposed agendas. If a company cannot afford to operate safely and meet all the community's safety protections of public and environment, the COGCC by law should not be issuing permits. Moms are looking to Colorado leaders, agencies to take action on climate crisis by moving away from dirty fossil fuels and increasing assurance of cleanup of oil and gas operations on new and existing well sites. So no consent for new or existing proposals on oil and gas operations or explorations on Indigenous ancestral lands. So there needs to be more community engagements with the COGCC and actually engaging community members about their safety and environment. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Oliver. We appreciate you taking the time to comment today.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share the picture on the back. This is a planned flaring in Weld County, and it's no wonder our air quality is increasingly poor going forward. So we need to really think about communities like Northern Colorado that are receiving the brunt of the oil and gas operations and the toxic air that they are having to deal with. So these are communities that are living with this and having to live next to flaring. So think about those people and the children health that are being impacted and who have came to you years ago, saying that their children are coming out with rare bone or blood cancer, and it's caused by environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. My internet cut out for just a little bit there, but I believe I rejoined quickly enough that I heard all of the comments, and we did have two written comments that were submitted in the record, and so we all have read those as well, and we appreciate those of you who have sent in your comments. Here I am at my first time up as chair, and I've already messed up my intended agenda. I had intended to have commissioner comments right after we did the roll call, and we are, I think, going to move in that direction going forward. So I will look to my fellow commissioners now and see if does anybody have any comments that they would like to raise. Commissioner McGowan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to maybe have Hearings Manager Larson confirm that the Commission is going to have a hearing regarding the request to pause transfers of wells and what that schedule will look like. And just so folks who are listening in know what the Commission has decided to do and how we're going to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McGowan. Yes, in the financial assurance rulemaking, there was a motion filed by 350 Colorado and Wild Earth Guardians last week, I believe it was Thursday last week, seeking the Commission direct the director to pause the processing of all transfers of oil and gas assets. Our rules provide for that process. And the hearing officer in the financial assurance rulemaking allowed that motion to come in and has issued an order directing all the parties to that rulemaking to file responses and replies to the motion that was filed by 350 Colorado and Wild Earth Guardians. The Commission is scheduled to hear that motion and to take it under consideration on November the 10th at your Wednesday hearing.
Great. Thank you, Hearings Officer Larson, and thank you, Commissioner McGowan. Other commissioners with items to raise? Okay, I have a couple of quick things. One is that this Friday we have our scheduled work session at 10 a.m. However, several of us will be out of the office, and so we are going to cancel that this Friday. Secondly, next Wednesday, our hearing is not at the typical 9 or 9:30 time. We're going to start at 2 p.m. and we'll have some matters that will be heard until we are finished, and then we will take a break and resume again at 6 p.m. with public comment. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that schedule change for next week. And then I had one other item that I just wanted to make the other commissioners aware of. In reflecting on our recent OGDP evaluations, I'm thinking it could be useful to establish a particular set of criteria or situations for which staff would proceed automatically to place the OGDP in a specific agenda item rather than an item within the OGDP consent agenda, to allow for more robust presentations and discussions from staff and the operator and possibly other relevant parties. And I'm thinking of this particularly in instances where we are evaluating Rule 604B Part 4 with respect to substantial equivalence. So my hope is that this would ultimately save some time by providing clear expectations for staff and operators as to when commissioners would benefit from more in-depth information and presentations, and when we're more likely to have more questions on an OGDP. And so I'm working with AAG Mercer to develop a motion to this effect that I'll put forth next week. But just wanted to give you all a heads up, and we'll have, of course, discussion when the motion is raised. All right, anybody else with anything further? All right, then, I believe next on the agenda, we have a report from the director, although Director Murphy, I believe you noted that you do not have a report for us today. Is that correct? Okay, head shaking back and forth, meaning no. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Director Murphy. So now we will proceed to the consent agenda. We have some hearing officer recommendations under the consent agenda. We also have, let's see, we have our general recommended orders and the consent agenda, the general consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions on groups A through E under the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Good.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Gonzalez and seconded by Commissioner McGowan. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will take a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, so I think the consent agenda, the general consent agenda moves forward. Next, I think we have the recommended orders, general, that are all orders of dismissal. Do we have any questions on any of those? Okay, seeing none, I will again request a motion to approve these recommended orders of dismissal.
So moved.
Okay.
Point of order,
Yes.
Chairperson. I'm not sure, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but on the recommended orders, my understanding is that by taking no action, they go into,
Thank you.
move forward. So I don't know as we have to take a roll call on vote. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm seeing Hearings Officer Larson nodding her head as well. So, and AAG Mercer, thank you. I'll chalk that up to my noviceness here in this chair, if that's a word. All right, so then we will move forward to the enforcement matters. We have two recommended orders for enforcement with respect to the operator Catamount. Does anyone have any questions on these? Okay, I have one question specifically on the recommended order. Let's see here. Docket number 2007-00202. This is the matter that involved an explosion and the loss of life. And I was curious, Director Murphy, if you're able to comment, what the reasoning was with respect to, I see that it was determined to be for the rules related to the open flame and the posting of the signage with respect to flammability, that those were classed as major, but class 2. And I was just curious if there was, what the reason was for not classifying those as class 3.
Thank you for the question. Can we bring in Scott Schultz to
Yes.
respond?
Commissioner Nanjapa, Assistant Attorney General Schultz is the prosecutor on this matter, so he would be able to address these questions.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Chair Nanjapa. This is Scott Schultz. As you can see, I didn't do a great job of explaining the aggravating factor, but the aggravating factor of $15,000 was applied to those. So essentially it made it a major. So those violations were the daily maximum that we could penalize for 1 day of violation. So that's the reason why. I guess it's a little confusing as to why we didn't have them as a class 3, but we have them as a class 2 major, but then with the aggravating factor, essentially they are at the daily maximum penalty amount, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, AAG Schultz. I appreciate the additional information. Is it also possible to, would it have also been possible to have these as, this is for the rule violation 210D, 606AF, and 606AH at class 3 and also having the aggravating factor? Or is that not typical, or is there a reason that you do it in the other way?
I think it would be possible. As you can see, in the explanation is the cause of the explosion was indeterminate. So we're trying to have that fine line as to what facts we were able to prove, what the investigations, I guess, unveiled, and kind of make that appropriate to what we knew in this case. So I think it would be possible.
Okay. Thank you very much, AAG Schultz. That's helpful for me. I think I saw Commissioner Gonzalez's hand.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Schultz, I guess I kind of wanted to follow up on that question from Chair Nanjapa, and I'm still trying to wrestle my head around the classification and the impact distinguishing factors. And so, with a loss of life with something that's serious, the major impact is definitely appropriate there. But it's my understanding that the classification is based on a rule classification. Can you help explain that a little bit better, just to kind of maybe distinguish the classification and the impact, just one additional time for us? I think it'd be a good additional data point for us.
Sure, Commissioner Gonzalez. So the classification is provided and kind of listed out, I guess, delineated in the enforcement guidance. So the majority of the rules have the classification kind of prescribed in that. Obviously, it is guidance, so there is some ability to maneuver around that, but the way we set up these classifications for this, it was abiding by that enforcement guidance policy. So again, there is some ability to maneuver around that, but we tried to stick with that in this case. Again, it's a tragic situation. The investigation had a lot of, I guess, unknowns. So that's kind of the difficulty we had in with this AOC, well, stipulated OFE, actually. I hope that answers your question, Commissioner Gonzalez.
That was helpful, Mr. Schultz. Thank you.
Thank you very much, AAG Schultz. Does anyone else have other questions? Okay, thank you very much. I do understand these the classing and I appreciate the additional explanation. For me as one commissioner, this was a difficult one as well, in that it's, we're limited obviously by the rules and the statute, but $50,000 for the loss of life feels quite inadequate, and I know there's nothing we can really do about that. But thank you again for explaining for us. And now I'll look to AAG Mercer and make sure. Do we move forward with a motion to approve here?
Thank you, Chair Nanjapa. So as with the general recommended orders, there's no need for a vote here. They'll automatically become commission orders unless a commissioner were to move to stay or want to take some action on these.
Okay, anything further from other commissioners? And thank you, AAG Mercer, for keeping me in order here.
No problem.
All right, I think, so with that, I believe we are through our agenda, other than if there are any other further comments from commissioners. Commissioner McGowan.
Sorry, and I know I mentioned this last week, but we do have a meeting on Monday around an educational topic around biochar, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in this odd timing. I appreciate everyone's willingness to put it on their calendar, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Commissioner McGowan, and for setting that up. And can you remind us what the timing is, just for the benefit of the folks listening?
Oh gosh, hearings manager person. We just finished the agenda yesterday, and I can't remember.
Not a problem. We begin at 4 p.m. on Monday.
And it's an odd time again, because we have someone from New York and someone from Singapore.
Thank you very much, Commissioner McGowan, and thank you, Hearings Manager Larson. With that, I believe we're fully through the agenda, and so I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, great. Moved by Commissioner Gonzalez, seconded by Commissioner McGowan. And all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.